After our family driver died in a tragic accident, my parents adopted his daughter, Isla. My heart ached for her loss, so I held nothing back. I treated her like a sister, introducing her to my two childhood friends, the brothers Julian and Leo. But the day before a major dance competition, I found my ballet shoes stuffed with nails. My feet were a mangled, bloody mess. That day, only Isla had been in my room. When I confronted her in a fury, the G brothers stood protectively in front of her. Julian, the elder, said, "You've always been careless. You probably did it to yourself by accident." Leo, the younger, sneered, "Are you trying to frame Isla on purpose?" Even my own parents were suspicious. Isla is such a good girl. Why would she do something like that? You must be making this up to get out of the competition. We're so disappointed in you. My heart shattered. I left. But when they later learned the truth, they begged me to come back as if their lives depended on it. Don't be ridiculous. Isla is too pure and kind to ever frame you on purpose. The feeling of iron nails digging into the arches of my feet was a sharp, searing agony. I lay collapsed on the floor, watching as the G brothers looked down on me, shielding a trembling Isla behind them. She was the only one in my room last night. I insisted, my voice ragged with pain. Julian's brow furrowed, his voice a low counterpoint to my hysteria. Isla tidies your room every day. What does that prove? He reasoned. Willow, you've always been clumsy. It's entirely possible you dropped a box of tacks and forgot about them. You should reflect on yourself before you start blaming others. Through the waves of pain, his words echoed in my head. I couldn't believe that Julian, who had always indulged my every whim, could say something so cold, so dismissive. So you're saying I did this to myself? I grunted, a bitter laugh catching in my throat. I saw her yesterday, Julian. She was sneaking around my room. Do you think I can't tell the difference between cleaning and sabotage? Blood pooled on the polished floorboards, the crimson stain spreading as the pain hammered against my skull, making my thoughts chaotic. Leo, however, just looked annoyed. What proof do you have that Isla did this? You make the claim, you provide the evidence. Without it, you're just spreading malicious rumors. For a moment, I was stunned into silence, staring at the hostile young man before me. I couldn't reconcile this sneering stranger with the Leo the first knew, the loyal shadow who had followed me everywhere since we were children. He had always been my staunchest defender, my unconditional ally. Now, he was condemning me without a second thought. Ah! A sudden, sharp cry from Isla broke the standoff. She was trembling violently, her face ashen, a perfect picture of terror. Blood, so much blood. I'm scared, Julian, I'm so scared. Isla sagged weakly into Leo's arms, her eyes shimmering with unshed tears, the very image of innocence and vulnerability. Leo, his face etched with concern, wrapped his arms around her, patting her back in a gentle, soothing rhythm. It's okay, Isla, don't be afraid. You're terrified of blood. I'll take you somewhere to rest. He guided her away, his focus entirely on her, completely ignoring me, the one who was seriously injured. Julian watched them go, his expression worried, calling after them, "Take good care of her." When his gaze returned to me, my blood was still flowing, and each breath was a struggle against the pain. I swallowed the lump of betrayal in my throat and looked at him with pleading eyes. He sighed and slowly crouched down, his fingers closing around my ankle. Willow, Isla has no one. Her life is pitiful enough. No matter how spoiled or willful you are, you shouldn't have targeted her. This is a matter of conscience. You know how her father died. Julian's voice was heavy, thick with accusation. I tried to argue, my own anger rising. I know what I saw. In response, his grip tightened punishingly on my ankle. Willow, I have always spoiled you, but I will not tolerate you crossing a line of principle. I screamed, a raw cry of pain and heartbreak as tears streamed down my face. It wasn't just Leo. Julian, too, had abandoned me. He had promised he would protect me forever, that he would be my rock, shielding me from all hurt and injustice. Was our 20-year bond, 2 decades of his careful protection, worth less than the 6 months he had known Isla? A bitter taste filled my mouth. When I spoke again, my voice was choked with sobs. Julian made a sound of irritation. Crying won't help. You can't solve your mistakes with tears. When you've calmed down, you will apologize to Isla for frightening her. That was your fault. My breathing became rapid and shallow, my head spinning. It was an old problem. Whenever I got upset, I'd hyperventilate, my limbs going numb. Just then, my father's voice boomed from downstairs. What's going on? Why is Isla crying? My mother's voice followed. Where's Willow? Did they have a fight? Hearing their voices felt like a lifeline. Dad, Mom, it hurts so much. I wailed. Hurried footsteps echoed on the stairs, and they appeared before me. My mother's eyes, brimming with undisguised pity, flew to my wound. As she rushed to my side. The nails weren't deep, but they had pierced the most sensitive part of my soul, and the pain was excruciating. My father quickly lifted me onto the bed and dialed the doctor's number. My mother sat beside me, holding me close. I was sobbing quietly, about to tell them everything, when Isla ran back into the room, tears streaming down her face. It's my fault. Sister Willow wouldn't have hurt herself like this if it wasn't for me. I'll take care of her myself. I saw my father's brow furrow slightly. My mother looked at her, hesitant. Isla, what do you mean by that? Isla twisted the hem of her shirt, her eyes darting nervously. Please don't ask me. Sister Willow made me promise not to tell. She'll be angry if I say anything. The G brothers stood behind her, their gazes fixed on me with suspicion. Julian took her hand, his voice soft and reassuring. It's okay, Isla. Tell us. We'll support you. Isla stole a few fearful glances at me, leaving me utterly confused. I had no idea what secret I had supposedly asked her to keep. Encouraged by Julian, Isla spoke in a small voice. Sister Willow said, she asked me to keep it a secret. She didn't want to compete in the dance competition. She was afraid she wasn't good enough, so she hurt herself. She paused, then added, her voice breaking, I never thought she would do something so extreme, and I never thought she would blame it on me. In that instant, the expressions of my parents and the G brothers changed completely. I pointed at her, trying to form a rebuttal, but my hand was shaking. Too violently. I couldn't catch my breath, and a sharp pain lanced through my dizzy head. I clutched my head as Leo's mocking voice cut through the haze. The truth is out. What are you still pretending for? Making a scene this late at night, wasting everyone's time. Julian's cold voice followed. Willow, you went too far this time. If we hadn't discovered the truth, Isla would have been wrongly accused of assault. A clever move, Willow. 2 birds with 1 stone. Just then, the doctor arrived. My father sighed. All of you, please leave. We need to treat the wound first. The door closed, leaving me alone with my parents and the doctor. I never said that. It was Isla who hurt me. I sobbed, trying to explain. But my father's tone was stern. Even now, you refuse to admit you're wrong? My mother's eyes were red. Willow, how could you become like this? My pleas and struggles were useless. My father just sighed heavily. This time, you've truly gone too far. The day of the accident, it was Isla's father who swerved the car at the last second, saving my life. He died before they even reached the hospital. His last words were a plea for me to take care of Isla. Her mother died young, and after the accident, she was all alone in the world. I failed her. I owe her everything. And now, you're bullying her behind my back. How can I face her father? All the fight drained out of me. I could only repeat numbly, I didn't. I didn't. I looked to my mother for help, but she didn't believe me either. Isla has been with us for 6 months. She's always been so well-behaved, so obedient, always helping around the house. I don't believe she would lie. But Willow, you've complained more than once about how tiring dance is. I always encouraged you not to give up, but I never imagined you would resort to this. To torturing yourself. I am so disappointed in you, Willow. My foot was bandaged. My parents left the room. I heard them go next door to comfort Isla. I could clearly hear Isla's voice, choked with self-blame. It's all my fault. I let my sister's secret slip and upset you both. I should have kept my mouth shut. I would rather take the blame than see you unhappy. Then came Leo's indignant defense. Uncle, Auntie, are you just going to let your daughter bully Isla like this? If you won't treat her well, our family will gladly give her a life without worry, so she doesn't have to suffer here. And Julian's calm, measured tone. This matter requires a clear resolution. Willow did something wrong, and she needs to formally apologize to Isla. When she was younger, we could let things slide, but we can't keep her sheltered in a greenhouse forever. Some rules need to be established. My father's stern voice followed. Don't worry. I won't indulge her this time. And my mother's gentle coaxing. Don't be afraid, Isla. Auntie will stand up for you. I lay frozen in my bed and pinched myself, hard. This had to be a nightmare. Julian was right. I had grown up with the G brothers, and they had been incredibly good to me. Julian, calm and brilliant, would get red-faced with frustration, trying to explain a math problem to me, yet he'd always end with a patient sigh. Willow, it must be the way I'm teaching. I'll rethink my approach. When I fell down the stairs, he was always the first one there, even though his classroom was on a different floor. He'd calmly carry me to the nurse's office. I'd laugh and say it didn't hurt, only to look up and see his eyes were red. Willow, he'd say, his voice thick with emotion, I didn't take good enough care of you. And Leo, reckless and playful, would drag me out of class to ride his motorcycle to the beach. In a deserted lighthouse, he'd shyly present me with a sketch he'd drawn of me, blushing as he muttered, just a doodle. Don't get any ideas. It's not like I was thinking about you. In high school, when another girl took a doll he'd given me, he tracked her down, his face thunderous as he snatched it back. If anyone ever bullies Willowsong again, he declared to the entire class, you'll have to answer to me. My parents had spoiled me, giving me the best of everything. I was, undeniably, a flower raised in a greenhouse, willful and pampered. The day Isla arrived, I'd felt a pang of sadness, worried my parents' affection would be divided. But when I learned her story, I immediately changed my perspective. I shared everything with her, my clothes, my makeup, my designer bags, my dolls. At first, she was shy and timid. So I introduced her to the G brothers. These are my 2 bodyguards, I'd told her. From now on, they'll protect you just like they protect me. I never imagined it would end like this. When did it all change? I couldn't pinpoint the moment. More than a decade of being the sole focus of their affection had left me utterly defenseless. Before the harm was done, I couldn't see through Isla's subtle manipulations, couldn't understand the hidden barbs in her words. Looking back now, it was all there, her calculated displays of weakness, the adoring way she looked at the brothers, her relentless, weaponized innocence. She had an agenda from the very beginning. I was just too blind to see it. The door opened. My parents stood there, their faces grim. Willow, you were wrong. Go and apologize to Isla. I refused without a second thought. I won't admit to something I didn't do. My mother's face was a mask of sorrow. Willow, how did you become this person? My father's voice was hard. On this, I cannot indulge you. If you insist on being stubborn, I'll have to punish you. I laughed coldly. I said I didn't do it. Do whatever you want. The door was locked from the outside. Isla's sweet voice drifted through the wood. Please don't punish my sister. It's all my fault. I shouldn't have said anything. Leo's voice, still laced with that careless arrogance, followed. Isla, I told you. I won't let anyone hurt you. Then Julian's voice, calm and directed at me. Willow, I hope you realize your mistake. I know you're smart enough to distinguish right from wrong. If you just apologize, Isla will forgive you. I said nothing. I lay there until the voices outside faded, tears streaming freely down my face. The ache in my heart was far worse than the stinging in my foot. Why had it come to this? Why did not a single one of them believe me? At some point, I fell into a heavy sleep. When I woke, the sun was up. I limped to the door and tried the handle. Locked. I pressed my ear against it, the house was silent. I listlessly picked up my phone. A few terse messages from my parents. Willow, when you've had time to reflect, let me know. If you apologize, we can put this behind us. When you make a mistake, you have to face it. We are all willing to give you another chance. Running away is just cowardice. I didn't reply. I opened my social media feed and saw Isla's latest post. It was a picture of her in my custom-designed ballet tutu, her makeup flawless. Behind her, my parents were smiling warmly, and the G brothers were looking at her with bright, admiring eyes. The caption read, "My skill is limited, but with them by my side, I have the courage to try my best." I can't describe the feeling that washed over me. Sadness, absurdity, emptiness. A final, soul-crushing acceptance. How much could change in just 6 months? I had become an outsider in my own home. My gaze fell on the window, which wasn't fully closed. The wound on my foot was starting to itch. I steeled myself and took a few painful steps. After tossing my thick blankets, pillows, and a change of clothes out the window, I pulled on a heavy coat. I packed only my phone, headphones, and 2 bank cards. The second floor wasn't too high, and the soft grass below was now cushioned. I took a deep breath and jumped. I landed squarely on the pile of bedding. A dull ache shot through my tailbone, but I gritted my teeth and stood up. And then, I fled the house that no longer felt like mine. I'm not a particularly brave person. For years, Julian and Leo had solved all my problems and soothed all my worries. Their father was my dad's best business partner, and their mother was my mom's lifelong friend. When we were little, our parents had jokingly arranged our betrothal. We'll just have to see which of my boys is lucky enough to win our Willow's heart. After we graduated from college, the brothers' affection became even more pronounced. Julian told me, with me, you can be a child forever. Leo promised, if you wanted the stars from the sky, I'd find a way to get them for you. They had built a greenhouse for me with their own hands, the same one they now used as a weapon against me. The irony was suffocating. I took a taxi to the airport and bought the first ticket to a city in the south. The flight was in half an hour. As soon as I landed, I instinctively checked my phone. Isla had posted again. A group photo of her with my parents and the G brothers. Thank you, uncle, auntie, and my 2 brothers for your company. I've learned so much. I will continue to work hard. She was wearing the blue and gold tutu I had designed myself. I had prepared for that competition for months, polishing every movement, perfecting every expression, even having the music re-recorded by an orchestra. It was my masterpiece, La Bayadere. Now, on Isla, it had become a prop for her debutante moment. How was I supposed to let that go? Tears fell, a sad rain on the barren landscape of my heart. I switched off my phone and boarded a bus to the outskirts of the city. This was where my grandmother lived. I hadn't grown up with my parents. Until I was 6, I lived with my grandma in this small southern town. It was a good place, slow and quiet, where the day began with the gentle ring of bicycle bells. Grandma would take me on her bike to buy a bowl of sweet tofu flour, always adding extra sugar. A girl who loves sweet things will have a sweet and happy life, she'd say, her face wrinkled but her voice soft as she held my hand and we walked slowly, down the town's main road. Life is meant to be lived slowly, she told me. But then my parents became wealthy, and I was taken to the capital. There, they told me, you can't fall behind. You have to keep up. They enrolled me in countless classes, but my grades remained average. That's when I met the G brothers. The small, timid girl I was then was nothing like the willful person I became. The capital was too big, too fast. I was scared. I cried often, and every time, Julian and Leo were there to comfort me. As the years flew by, my visits with Grandma became less frequent. I begged her to come live with me, but she'd just shake her head, her own eyes wet with tears. If I leave, your grandpa will be all alone. Then, one day, she stopped moving altogether. Returning to this small, dilapidated house, the air thick with dust, it felt cold and empty without her. I sat on the low stool by the door, my mind flooded with memories. Years had passed, and her face was starting to blur, but sitting here, I still expected to hear her cheerful voice. "Little one, come take a walk with Grandma." Tears fell, one by one. The last time I had cried this hard was the year she died. I was 15, holding her cooling hand, watching the flat line on the monitor. At her funeral, I cried until I fainted before her tombstone. Julian had held me tightly, and Leo had carefully spooned sugar water into my mouth. They had sworn at her grave that they would never let me be sad again. And now? I guess there are no certainties in life. Just as the little girl I was thought her grandma would be with her forever, the woman I am now understands that nothing lasts forever. People leave. Love changes. In the end, I was still just a child hiding behind her grandmother. My phone rang. It was my mother. They must have gotten home and found I was gone. I didn't answer. Messages from Julian followed, one after another. "Willow song, what kind of tantrum are you throwing now? How could you do something so dangerous? Are you okay? Where are you? Send me your location. I'll come get you." Your mother is frantic. Can you stop being so childish? All we asked was for you to apologize. You can't run away from your mistakes like this. Then came Leo's. You've gotten bold, haven't you? Using the wall climbing skills I taught you? Running away from home at your age, just to embarrass Isla? You'd better stay tough, Willow. Don't you dare come back. And my father's. Willow, answer the phone. I turned my phone off. I wasn't trying to make them regret anything. I was just a coward. When they hurt me, my first instinct was to run. From memory, I walked to the town market and bought tomatoes, tofu, and cabbage, all my childhood favorites. It wasn't until I got back to the house that I realized it was too dilapidated to cook in. I am always too slow. Too slow to understand people, events, emotions. As a child, I didn't understand why people had to part. As an adult, I don't understand how hearts can change so quickly. I took down the old photograph of my grandmother that hung on the wall and tucked it into my bag. If I can't figure things out, I'll stop trying. Grandma, I'm taking you to see the world now. I had just reached the airport when my parents found me. They knew me too well, they knew this was where I would run when I was hurt. With them were a tearful Isla, a grim-faced Julian, and a glowering Leo. Thankfully, I had already passed through the security gate. I heard my mother's desperate, choked cry. Willow, we were wrong. I paused. Julian's voice followed, strained and raw. Willow, we misunderstood you. Please, stop this tantrum. Isla sobbed, it was me. I was possessed. It's all my fault. I hurt my sister. I'll atone for my sins right now. I turned to see her throw herself to her knees, banging her head hard against the polished floor. Her dramatic display drew the attention of everyone nearby. I'm just so insecure, she wailed. I have no family. The Song family is the only home I have. I just wanted a little more attention. I never meant for any of this to happen. If only my father were still here, I wouldn't have become so wicked, so hateful. She began slapping her own face, again and again. Sister, I'm so sorry. Punish me however you want. I'll die if that's what it takes. I watched her frenzied performance and found it utterly ridiculous. That's enough, Isla. Stop torturing yourself, my father said, sighing heavily. Julian checked the living room security camera. It caught the hallway. Outside your room. He saw Isla tampering with your shoes. This was our fault, Willow. We blamed you without knowing the facts. I need to apologize to you. I looked at Julian. He lowered his head, his voice earnest. Willow, I'm sorry. I hurt you. Before my brain could process it, my mouth opened. When you checked the footage, Were you looking for the truth, or for proof to make me surrender? Were you just trying to find a way to shut me up? Silence. All 5 of them froze, their faces changing. The awkward quiet was broken only by the sound of Isla slapping herself. If my sister won't forgive me, I'll just kneel here and punish myself forever. It's not like anyone cares about me anyway. Maybe I'll just go join my father and atone for my sins that way. Her face was a mess of tears and snot as she trembled pathetically. Enough, Leo snapped. Willow, we were wrong to misunderstand you, and we should apologize. But Isla made a mistake. Are you really going to watch her torture herself like this? Her mind was twisted by grief. You shouldn't be so unforgiving. Julian reached down and pulled Isla to her feet, carefully smoothing her skirt. Willow, Isla knows she was wrong. If we each take a step back, we can still live together in harmony. I promise, nothing like this will ever happen again. Stop being difficult. Come home. I laughed out loud. You'd better figure out if this is an apology or emotional blackmail. Just because they both sound vaguely similar doesn't mean they're the same thing. I looked at my parents. Do you know how many sleepless nights I spent on that dress, perfecting every detail? And with one lie from her, you threw all my hard work away, handed it over to someone else without a second thought. If this is about repaying a debt, then let me make it easy for you. I'll give up my place as the Song family's daughter. You can use the rest of your lives to repay your debt of gratitude. Goodbye. I turned and boarded the plane. Behind me, I heard my father's angry shout. Willow, why can't you ever try to understand us? I couldn't understand. So I ran. This flight was bound for the western frontier. The journey was long. I held my grandmother's photo, her kind, gentle smile filling in the faded colors of my memory. With her beside me, I had nothing to fear. I drifted into a deep, peaceful sleep. In my dream, I was a little girl again, sitting on her lap as she rocked me. When I was young, she murmured, I heard the melons and fruits in the west were huge and sweet. So round and juicy, they burst in your mouth like sweet water. Someday, my little one, you have to go and taste them for me. When I landed, I was exhausted. I booked a room at a hotel near the airport, but when I tried to pay, the card was declined. Frozen. A wave of nausea washed over me just as my father called. Where are you? Stay put. We're coming. Willow, this has gone on long enough. Do you want to tear this family apart? I couldn't believe the words coming from the man who had once adored me. I collapsed onto the hotel sofa as he continued. Isla made a mistake, but I taught you to be magnanimous, to have a big heart. Why can't you let this go? There will be other competitions, but if you lose your family, you can never get them back. I replied listlessly, then get a new daughter. My mind drifted back over the past 6 months. All the changes had been there, hiding in plain sight. Isla's sweet voice as she massaged my father's shoulders, her casual mentions of her own pain that deepened his guilt, her subtle expressions of envy that hinted at what she wanted. She had used the same tactics on my mother, on the brothers, and even on me. And she had been good at it. They were all won over. Including me. I had pitied her, opened my heart to her, treated her like a true sister. But in her eyes, I was only ever the competition. There was too much to be sad about. Betrayed by everyone I loved, I needed time to process, to heal. But just as I closed my eyes, Julian called. Willow, can I come find you? His voice was so calm, so steady. For a moment, the pain faded, and I was back in the days when he spoiled me endlessly. More than a decade of affection couldn't be erased so easily. I'll come and atone for my sins. Wherever you want to go, I'll go with you. Please, stop being angry, okay? In my days, I almost said, okay. But then I heard Isla's voice in the background. Julian, is sister still not willing to forgive me? I know she won't get over this easily. No matter what I do, she'll always hate me. Maybe I should just leave, go somewhere I'll never be in her way again. The call was abruptly disconnected. I finally fell into a deep sleep, clutching my grandmother's photo in a strange city, too tired or too hurt to know the difference. I woke up in a hospital, alone. My first instinct was to search for my grandmother's photo. Holding it again, I felt a sense of peace. A nurse came in and checked my forehead. "Your foot is infected. You have a high fever. Why didn't you get this treated sooner?" I smiled weakly at her. "I got delayed on the road." She changed my drip, her instructions a blur. I glanced at my phone and saw several answered calls. A sense of dread washed over me. I was just about to get up and leave when the door opened. Julian and Leo stood there, looking travel-worn. Behind them, my parents looked haggard. "Why would you do this to yourself?" Leo asked, his brow furrowed, a hint of genuine concern in his voice. Julian walked silently to my side. "Willow, no matter how angry you are, you shouldn't hurt yourself." My mother's eyes were swollen. My father came over and said, "I've sent Isla away. Come home." I let out an exasperated breath. This constant chase was exhausting me. Looking at their faces, I was instantly transported back to that night of pain and betrayal. Julian, oblivious, reached out to touch my head. A sudden wave of revulsion hit me, and I threw up all over him. "I'm sorry," I said, my voice flat. "Looking at you makes me sick." Julian's face froze. Leo hesitated. "Willow, what's really going on?" My mother rushed over to wipe my face, murmuring, "I'm so sorry, Mama, so sorry. I didn't take care of you." Julian, recovering, began to clean up the mess. My head throbbed. I closed my eyes and said nothing. They settled in around me, a silent, dutiful vigil, peeling fruit, feeding me porridge. It was maddening. I wanted to scream, but I was too weak to even be angry. This awkward stalemate lasted for 48 hours, until a phone call from Isla broke their stubborn watch. "Uncle, Auntie, I've been hit by a car. I'm so scared. Can you come back and be with me?" I saw the hesitation in my father's eyes. The G brothers were instantly on alert. Julian asked the doctor if I was stable enough for discharge. The doctor gave a few instructions about keeping the wound clean. Satisfied, Julian began arranging my discharge paperwork. Leo was on the phone with Isla, murmuring reassurances. My father booked 5 plane tickets. Through it all, I remained silent, a passive object being arranged and managed. When they were done, they turned to me. "Let's go home, Willow." I looked up at them. "Do you realize how ridiculous you all are? In the 2 days you've been here, pretending to be sorry, how much of you was actually present? Why pretend? I never asked you to stay. And I'm not leaving with you." The infected wound on my foot was throbbing, a pain so constant I had almost forgotten it was there. The 4 of them stared at me, their expressions a comical mix of frustration and confusion. Julian grabbed Leo before he could speak, then approached me, his voice a soft coo. "Willow, you've made your point. Isla sounds like she's in serious trouble. You're a kind girl. You wouldn't leave someone to die, would you?" I countered matter-of-factly, "I'm injured myself. Can't help. If you want to go, don't let me stop you." Seeing I was immovable, his patience frayed, but he kept his voice even. "Then I'll go handle things over there first." The brothers left quickly, leaving me with my parents. My father, his face a mask of anxiety, finally just said to my mother, "You watch her. I can't fail Isla's father." And then it was just my mother and me. I slowly took out my grandmother's photo and placed it in front of her. "If Grandma knew how you've all treated me, she would have stood up for me." As she broke down in tears, I stated my demand calmly. "I'm leaving. I need to get away from that place, from all the bad memories. You have your debt to repay, your own reasons for not being able to let her go. So why can't I choose to escape? Do you have to see me miserable to be happy?" I stared into my mother's eyes. I was hurt. "I want to leave. Is that so wrong?" Tears streamed down her face. She opened her mouth, then closed it. Finally, all she could manage was, "Mama was wrong." In the end, she relented. Through her sobs, she told me to be safe and asked when I would be back. I didn't have an answer. Maybe never. Maybe one day, when I had figured things out, when I had let go, when I could face it all with a calm heart. This world was vast and beautiful, and my grandmother had seen so little of it. 5 days later, my mother saw me off on a flight to the northern grasslands. I didn't say goodbye or look back. I tucked all the memories, good and bad, into a corner of my heart. I wouldn't forget them. A relationship that has soured can never be restored to its original state. I heard later that Isla's car accident was a setup. She had hired someone to hit her, but the driver lost control and actually broke her leg. What followed was a messy tangle of lawsuits and blame shifting. Isla sued the driver presented evidence that she had orchestrated the whole thing. The G brothers, trying to manage the fallout, were dragged through the mud. Isla tried her usual damsel-in-distress routine, but now that she knew what real pain felt like, the brothers had finally lost all patience with her. I just smiled to myself. The universe has a way of balancing things. The wicked get what they deserve. During my travels, my father called relentlessly. Sometimes I answered, sometimes I didn't. Julian sent me daily updates on his life, asking every day when I was coming home. I never replied, except to silently curse him under my breath. And every morning, Leo would send me a new sketch. I found it disgusting and blocked them both. My mother, however, would visit me often, traveling with me for a while. Life was not bad. It had deviated from its original path, but in doing so, it had shown me who was truly sincere. Life is a cycle of beginnings and endings. But my grandmother would always be on my side. And that was enough.